Picture yourself on a creaking steamship, the sea rolling beneath, your stomach already uneasy with weeks of misery ahead. Welcome to a transatlantic crossing in 1860. Step aboard a steamship bound for America, where hope battles seasickness, spoiled food, and crowded cabins. This isn't a tale of adventure, but of endurance, as immigrants and dreamers face the Atlantic's perils. Woven softly to lull you to sleep, we'll explore their grueling journey. Share your location and time in the comments, and a like or subscribe keeps these stories sailing. Let's embark on this voyage, where hardship awaits. You stand on a bustling dock in Liverpool, England, in the summer of 1860, your boots sinking slightly into the damp, gritty cobblestones worn smooth by countless feet. The air is thick with the briny tang of the sea, sharp and salty, mingling with the acrid bite of coal smoke that hangs over the port like a grey veil. Around you, the dock thrums with chaotic life. Stevedores shout as they haul crates of tea and cotton, their voices rough, their arms straining under the weight. Vendors weave through the crowd, hawking meat pies and apples, their cries blending into a cacophony of accents, Irish, Welsh, German, all clamouring for attention. Passengers press close, a tide of humanity, weary immigrants clutching tattered bags, their faces etched with hope and fear. Merchants in fine wool coats, checking pocket watches with impatient glances. Adventurers, young and restless, eyeing the horizon with dreams of gold or land. Your own hands, rough from years of labour, grip a small bundle. A few shirts, a worn Bible, a crumpled letter from a cousin in New York promising work. The weight pulls at your shoulders, a reminder of all you've left behind and all you hope to find. Before you looms the steamship, a marvel of the age, its iron hull rising like a fortress from the murky water of the Mersey. Its two towering funnels, black against the overcast sky, belch plumes of smoke, a testament to the coal-fired engines that promised to cross the Atlantic in 2 weeks, a feat unimaginable a generation ago when sailing ships took months. The ship's name, painted in bold white letters, gleams faintly. SS Britannia, or perhaps Great Western, one of the Cunard or Collins Line vessels that have shrunk the ocean's vastness. Paddle wheels, massive and spoked like giant cartwheels, or a single screw propeller, churn the water gently, hinting at the power within. This is no sleek liner of later years, but a hulking utilitarian beast, built for profit and endurance, its decks crowded with ropes, barrels, and the faint glint of brass fittings. To you, it's both salvation and sentence, a passage to America, but at the cost of weeks of seasickness, spoiled food, crowded cabins, and relentless boredom. This is a tale of grit, woven gently to guide you towards slumber. You shuffle forward in the queue, your heart a tangle of excitement and dread. The gangway, a narrow plank of wood reinforced with iron, creaks underfoot as you step aboard, the ship's hull towering above, its rivets like scars on a warrior's skin. First-class passengers in silk dresses and top hats are ushered to the upper decks, their voices light with laughter, their trunks carried by porters in crisp uniforms. You catch a glimpse of their world, polished wood, glass portholes, the faint clink of champagne glasses, before a sailor, his face weathered as old leather, barks at you to move along. Your steerage, the lowest class, and your place is below, in the ship's belly. The sailor checks your ticket, a scrap of paper worn soft from your anxious grip, and points you down a narrow staircase, its steps slick with damp. The air grows heavier as you descend, the open breeze of the dock replaced by a stifling mix of tar, wet wood, and the faint musk of unwashed bodies already packed inside. The steerage hold is a cavern of shadows, lit by flickering oil lamps that swing with the ship's gentle sway. Your berth awaits, a wooden bunk no wider than a coffin, stacked 3 high with others like it, each layered with straw that's already damp and musty. You're to share this space with a family, a mother, her face lined with worry, clutching a shawl, 2 children, a boy and girl, their eyes wide, their clothes patched and faded. Above, below, and beside you, more bunks crowd the hold, each holding strangers. Men coughing, women whispering prayers, children whimpering. The ceiling presses low, barely high enough to stand, and the air is thick. The lamp's smoke stinging your eyes, blending with the sharp scent of pitch used to seal the ship's seams. Your bundle fits beneath the bunk, but there's no privacy, no corner to call your own. You've heard tales of first-class cabins, feather beds, private washstands, windows framing the sea. But here, your cargo, packed tightly to maximize the ship's profit. The ship's whistle shrieks, a piercing wail that cuts through the dock's clamour, signalling departure. You press against a porthole, its glass smudged with salt, and watch Liverpool's spires fade into a haze of coal smoke. The deck vibrates beneath your feet, the engine's low rumble growing to a roar as the paddle wheels churn, stirring the water into froth. The ship lurches, a sudden jolt that sends you gripping the bunk's edge, your stomach twisting with the first hint of motion. The shore recedes, the cries of gulls and vendors growing faint, replaced by the sea's low growl and the creak of timbers. Your fellow passengers settle uneasily, Irish families fleeing famine, their voices thick with brogue, German craftsmen seeking factories in New York, lone dreamers chasing tales of open land. Their faces mirror your own, hope for a new start, fear of the ocean's wrath, and the weight of leaving home, perhaps forever. The hold is a sensory assault. The air, heavy with tar and sweat, clogs your throat, the coal smoke from the engines seeping through unseen cracks. Your hands, rough from years as a labourer, grip the bunk's splintered edge, the wood pricking your skin, already sore from hauling your bundle. The straw bedding scratches through your thin shirt, its dampness chilling your bones, a foretaste of the cold nights ahead. Sounds surround you. The ships groan as it meets the first waves, the sailors' shouted orders above, the murmur of prayers in a dozen tongues, the soft sobs of a child nearby. The oil lamps cast long shadows, their flickering light dancing on the faces of strangers, some resigned, some terrified. Your stomach churns, not yet from seasickness, but from the weight of the unknown, the Atlantic storms, the tales of spoiled food, the weeks of confinement in this wooden prison. The lack of rights shapes every moment. As a steerage passenger, you're at the mercy of the crew, their orders barked in clipped tones, their patience worn thin by the endless stream of passengers. The captain, a distant figure in a braided coat, caters to the first class above, their complaints heard, their comfort assured. You below are an afterthought, your ticket granting passage but little else. The ship's hierarchy is rigid. First class dine on roast beef and wine, while you're promised hard biscuits and salted pork, if it hasn't spoiled. You've heard of passengers turned away at the dock, their papers wrong or their health questioned, their dreams crushed before the journey began. Your ticket, clutched like a talisman, is your only claim to this crossing, and you guard it, knowing a lost scrap of paper could mean disaster. The emotional toll is a heavy cloak. You're leaving family, their faces etched in your mind, a mother's tearful wave from the dock, a father's gruff nod, a sibling's promise to write. The letter in your bundle, creased and worn, speaks of work in America, a chance to escape the hunger and toil of home. Yet the Atlantic looms, its vastness a reminder of your smallness, its dangers whispered in every portside tale, storms that snap masts, fevers that sweep the hold, provisions that rot before journey's end. Your fellow passengers carry similar burdens. The Irish mother beside you speaks of famine, her husband lost to starvation. A German carpenter dreams of building a home. A young man, barely older than a boy, clutches a map of California's gold fields. Hope drives you all, but fear is a constant shadow, the ship's sway a prelude to the sickness that awaits. The ship pulls farther from shore, the dock's noise fading, replaced by the rhythmic churn of the engines and the sea's restless murmur. The hold grows darker, the portholes showing only the grey swell of waves. You lie on your bunk, the straw shifting beneath you, the ship's motion rocking you gently. Weeks of hardship lie ahead. Seasickness that turns days into nausea-filled blurs. Food that sours in the hold's damp heat. Cabins so crowded you can't breathe without brushing a stranger. Boredom that gnaws at your spirit. For now, you close your eyes. The bunks sway a lullaby, your heart carrying a stubborn will to endure, pulling you deeper into the grueling life of a transatlantic passenger. The SS Britannia churns through the grey Atlantic, its iron hull groaning under the swell of waves, the year 1860. You're a steerage passenger, 3 days into a transatlantic crossing from Liverpool to New York, your body already weary from the ship's relentless sway. The steerage hold, your home for the next 2 weeks, is a dim, suffocating world below deck, where the air is thick with the stench of unwashed bodies, damp straw, and the sour tang of vomit. Your narrow bunk, shared with a family of strangers, presses close, its wooden slats digging into your back. Above, the first-class passengers dine in lamplit saloons, but here, in the ship's belly, you're packed tight, a human cargo enduring crowded cabins, seasickness, and the looming threat of spoiled food. This is no tale of adventure, but of survival, woven softly to guide you towards slumber. You lie on your bunk, the straw bedding damp and prickly, its musty smell blending with the hold's heavy air, tar from the ship's seams, sweat from the crowd, and the faint rot of provisions stored too long. The hold is a cavern of wood and iron, its low ceiling forcing you to stoop, its walls slick with condensation. Bunks line the space, stacked 3 high, each holding 2 or 3 passengers, their belongings wedged beneath or clutched in sleep. Your bunkmates, a weary Irish mother named Bridget, her 2 children, Sean and Mary, thin and wide-eyed, shift uneasily, their coughs and murmurs a constant hum. Around you, 100 others cram the hold, German labourers, their voices low and guttural, Polish families whispering prayers, a lone Scotsman muttering about gold fields. The air is stifling, the single oil lamp flickering, casting shadows that dance across strained faces. Space is a luxury you don't have. Your bunk, barely 2 feet wide, forces you to sleep curled, your knees brushing Bridget's shawl. There's no room to stand fully, no corner for privacy. Toilets, crude wooden buckets in a curtained corner, are shared by all, their stench a constant assault, emptied only when the crew remembers. You've learned to hold your breath when passing, but the smell lingers, seeping into your clothes, your skin. Personal hygiene is a lost hope. A bucket of seawater hauled from the deck serves for washing, its icy chill stinging your hands. You've seen first-class passengers stroll above, their faces clean, their clothes pressed. But here, sweat and grime coat everyone, a shared mark of steerage life. The ship's motion is relentless, a pitching roll that keeps you braced against the bunk's edge, your stomach uneasy even before true seasickness strikes. The hold creaks with every wave, the timbers groaning as if protesting the ocean's weight. Sleep is fitful, broken by the cries of children, the coughs of the sick, the muttered arguments of men cramped too close. Bridget's son, Sean, whimpers in his sleep, his small frame shivering despite the blanket you gave them from your bundle. You've tried to be kind, sharing a crust of bread yesterday, but your own stores, a sack of biscuits and dried apples, are dwindling, and the ship's promised meals are yet to come. The thought of food, already rumoured to be rancid, twists your gut with both hunger and dread. The sensory weight of the hold is crushing. The air is thick, a mix of sweat, tar, and the sharp tang of vomit from a woman 2 bunks away, her groans a reminder of the sickness spreading. Your hands, rough from labour, grip the bunk's splintered edge, the wood biting your skin, already raw from clutching your bundle during boarding. The straw scratches through your shirt, its dampness chilling your bones, a constant reminder of the hold's humidity. Sounds surround you, the ship's creak, the thud of waves against the hull, the low hum of prayers, the occasional shout from a sailor above. The lamp's flickering light casts a sickly glow, illuminating faces gaunt with fatigue, eyes hollow with the strain of confinement. Class divides sharpen the misery. You've glimpsed the upper decks through a hatch, where first-class passengers stroll in clean air, their cabins boasting feather beds and private washstands. They dine on roast beef and wine, served on china, while you await a ration of hard biscuits and salted pork, if it hasn't spoiled. The crew treats you with indifference, their orders barked in clipped tones, their boots stomping above as they cater to the wealthy. A sailor, passing through to check the hold, ignores a woman's plea for fresh water, his face hard as he mutters about steerage filth. Your cargo, your ticket granting passage but no dignity, your complaints swallowed by the ship's hierarchy. The lack of rights is a constant weight. As a steerage passenger, you have no voice, no power to demand better conditions. The captain, a distant figure in a braided coat, is a myth to you, his attention fixed on the saloon's guests. The ship's rules are rigid. Stay below unless permitted, eat what's given, obey or face punishment. You've heard of passengers locked in the brig for arguing with the crew, their cries muffled by iron walls. Disease is a growing fear. A cough spreads through the hold, and you've seen the crew turn away the sick at boarding, leaving them stranded. Your own health, fragile from years of toil, feels precarious. The damp air and close quarters a breeding ground for illness. The emotional toll is a quiet burden. You're bound for America, chasing a cousin's promise of work, but the cost is heavy. Family left behind, their faces etched in your mind. A mother's tearful wave, a brother's gruff farewell. Bridget shares her story in whispers. Her husband died in the famine, her children's hunger driving her across the sea. The German carpenter beside you speaks of factories in New York, his hands calloused like yours, his hope a mirror of your own. Yet fear gnaws at you. The Atlantic storms, the tales of ships lost, the sickness that could claim you or your bunkmates. You've already seen a child, pale and listless, carried to the ship's doctor, the mother's sobs echoing. Hope drives you, but the hold's claustrophobia, the press of strangers, the uncertainty of survival weigh heavier each day. The community in steerage offers faint solace. Bridget shares a prayer, her voice soft with an Irish lilt, and you nod, clutching your Bible, its pages worn from years of reading. A Polish woman offers a sip of water from her flask, a rare kindness, but tensions simmer, arguments over space, a stolen apple, a spilled bucket. Language barriers sharpen the divide. You understand little of the German or Polish murmurs, and mistrust grows in the cramped dark. A Scotsman, his accent thick, tells tales of goldfields to pass the time, but his bravado fades when the ship lurches, his face green with nausea. These bonds, fragile and strained, are all you have, a thin thread against the isolation of the sea. The days blur, each marked by the ship's rhythm. The engines thud, the waves crash, the bells signalling meals that rarely come on time. You venture to the deck when allowed, the air fresh but cold, the sea a grey expanse stretching to the horizon. The first-class passengers, in their fine coats, glance at you with disdain, their world a universe apart. You linger by the rail, the wind stinging your face, the salt spray dampening your hair. The deck offers a moment of freedom, but the crew's shouts drive you back below, the hold's stench hitting you like a wall. You return to your bunk, the straw shifting, the air heavier than before. As night falls, the hold grows quieter, the murmurs fading to snores and coughs. You lie on your bunk, the ship's sway rocking you, the straw's dampness seeping through your clothes. Bridget's children sleep fitfully, their small bodies curled close, and you pull your thin blanket tighter, its wool rough but warm. The lamp dims, its oil nearly spent, casting the hold into deeper shadow. Weeks lie ahead, seasickness that will turn your stomach, food that sours in the hold's heat, boredom that gnaws at your spirit. For now, you close your eyes, the ship's creak a lullaby, your heart carrying a stubborn will to endure, pulling you deeper into the grueling life of a transatlantic passenger. The SS Britannia ploughs through the restless Atlantic, its iron hull shuddering against the waves, the year 1860. You're a steerage passenger, 5 days into a grueling transatlantic crossing from Liverpool to New York, your body battered by the ship's ceaseless pitching and rolling. The steerage hold, your cramped refuge, reeks of vomit, sweat, and the sour tang of damp straw, the air thick and stifling in the dim flicker of oil lamps. Your narrow bunk, shared with Bridget and her 2 children, offers no escape from the nausea that grips you, a relentless misery that defines life at sea. Above, first-class passengers stroll the deck. But here, below, you're trapped in a world of seasickness, crowded cabins, and the looming threat of spoiled food. This is no tale of adventure but of endurance woven softly to lull you towards slumber. You cling to the edge of your bunk, the wooden slats biting into your palms, your stomach churning as the ship lurches with each wave. The nausea began on the second day, a queasy unease that grew into a full-blown torment as the sea turned rough. Now, every roll of the ship sends your insides twisting, a wave of dizziness washing over you, your mouth sour with bile. You vomited twice today into a bucket already brimming, its contents sloshing with the ship's motion, the stench a constant assault. Bridget, your bunkmate, fares no better. Her face pale, her eyes hollow, she retches into a rag, her children whimpering beside her. The hold is a chorus of misery. Groans, coughs, the splatter of sickness from every corner, a reminder that seasickness spares no one. The ship's motion is unrelenting, a cruel dance of pitches and rolls that never pauses. One moment, the floor tilts upward, pressing you into the bunk. The next, it drops, leaving your stomach suspended, your head spinning. The Atlantic's waves, grey and towering, slam the hull, their thud echoing through the hold, a drumbeat to your suffering. You've tried to find relief, staring at the horizon when allowed on deck, chewing a crust of dry biscuit to settle your stomach. But nothing works. The crew, hardened to passengers' complaints, offer no help. A sailor passing through mutters about landlubbers and tosses a bucket of seawater to clean the floor, its icy splash stinging your feet. You've heard of remedies, ginger, brandy, but such luxuries are for the first class above, not steerage. The sensory weight of seasickness is overwhelming. The hold's air is thick, the stench of vomit mingling with the tarry smell of the ship's seams and the musky damp of straw. Your hands, raw from gripping the bunk, tremble as you wipe sweat from your brow, the skin clammy despite the chill. The taste of bile lingers, coating your tongue, each swallow a struggle against nausea. Sounds surround you, the ship's creak, the waves' roar, the retching of passengers, the cries of children too young to understand their misery. The oil lamps sway, their flickering light casting shadows that twist with the ship's motion, amplifying your dizziness. The bunk's straw scratches your skin, its dampness seeping through your thin shirt, chilling your bones as you shiver between bouts of nausea. The lack of privacy deepens the torment. The hold, packed with 100 souls, offers no space to suffer alone. Bridget's daughter, Mary, clings to her mother, her small face green, her whimpers piercing. A man nearby, a German labourer, vomits into his hands, too weak to reach the bucket, his curses low and guttural. You try to help, offering a rag from your bundle, but your own nausea makes the gesture feeble. The shared buckets, overflowing and rarely emptied, are a breeding ground for disease, their stench inescapable. You've seen passengers faint from exhaustion, their bodies slumped against bunks, ignored by the crew unless they disrupt order. The fear of worse sickness, fever, cholera, hovers, whispered in tales of past voyages where entire holds fell ill. Class divides sharpen the misery. From the deck above you hear faint laughter, the clink of glasses, as first-class passengers dine in a saloon warmed by coal fires. They have private cabins, fresh air, and doctors to tend their ailments, while you're left to endure with nothing but willpower. The crew, when they appear, are brusque, their faces hard as they shove through the hold, ignoring pleas for water or medicine. Your cargo, your ticket granting passage, but no comfort, you're suffering a nuisance to those who serve the wealthy. A sailor carrying a tray of scraps for steerage sneers at a woman begging for her sick child, his voice sharp. Wait your turn. The ship's hierarchy is as rigid as its iron hull, your place at the bottom unyielding. The emotional toll is a heavy anchor. You left Liverpool with dreams of America, a job in a factory, a plot of land, a life free from hunger, but the sea's cruelty tests your resolve. Each wave, each bout of nausea chips away at hope, leaving fear in its place. You think of home, of the family you left, a mother's tearful embrace, a father's gruff nod, their faces fading with each mile. Bridget shares her story in broken whispers, her husband dead from famine, her children's hunger driving her across the ocean. The German labourer speaks of a brother in New York, his voice hoarse between retches. These stories bind you, but they also weigh you down, each passenger's pain a mirror of your own. The community in steerage offers faint solace. Bridget's prayers, murmured in Gaelic, are a soft rhythm against the ship's creak, and you clutch your Bible, its pages worn, seeking comfort in familiar words. A Polish woman, her face gaunt, shares a sip of water, her hands trembling from nausea. But tensions simmer. A man accuses another of stealing space, their voices rising until a sailor barks them into silence. Language barriers deepen the divide. You catch only fragments of German or Yiddish, the words alien, the emotions raw. A Scotsman, his face green, tries to joke about the sea, but his laughter turns to coughing, his bravado crumbling. These fragile bonds, forged in shared suffering, are all you have against the isolation of the hold. The days blur into a haze of sickness. You venture to the deck when permitted, the air sharp with salt, the wind cutting through your thin coat. The sea stretches endless, its grey waves tipped with foam, a reminder of your smallness. First-class passengers in furs and silk glance at you with pity or disdain, their world a distant dream. You grip the rail, the iron cold, hoping the horizon will steady your stomach, but the nausea follows unyielding. The crew drives you back below, the hold's stench hitting like a blow, the darkness swallowing you. You return to your bunk, the straw damp, Bridget's children curled close, their breathing uneven. The physical toll is relentless. Seasickness saps your strength, your muscles weak from retching, your head pounding with each roll. You've barely eaten, the thought of food, a promised ration of biscuits and pork, turning your stomach. Your body, already worn from years of toil, feels fragile, the damp air and close quarters a threat to your health. You've seen passengers weaken, their faces pale, their eyes dull, and you fear the cough spreading through the hold, a sign of something worse. The ship's doctor, a shadowy figure, tends only the wealthy, leaving steerage to fend for itself, your only remedy, rest and hope. As night falls, the hold grows quieter, the groans softening to whimpers, the lamps dimming to a faint glow. You lie on your bunk, the ship's sway a cruel lullaby, your stomach twisting with each wave. Bridget's children sleep fitfully, their mother's hand stroking their hair, her face etched with exhaustion. The air is heavy, the stench of sickness and straw a constant weight. Weeks remain, spoiled food, endless boredom, the threat of fever looming. For now, you close your eyes, the bunk's motion rocking you, your heart clinging to a stubborn will to endure, pulling you deeper into the miserable life of a transatlantic passenger. The SS Britannia battles the Atlantic's grey swells, its engines thudding relentlessly. The year 1860. You're a steerage passenger, a week into the grueling transatlantic crossing from Liverpool to New York, your body weakened by seasickness and the stifling confines of the steerage hold. The air below deck is heavy with the stench of vomit, damp straw, and now a new torment, the sour reek of spoiled food. Your narrow bunk, shared with Bridget and her children, offers no respite from the gnawing hunger that grips you, the ship's promised rations often late, meagre, or inedible. Above, first-class passengers dine on fresh bread and roast meat, but here, in the crowded hold, you face mouldy biscuits, rancid pork, and the constant threat of starvation. This is no tale of adventure, but of survival, woven softly to lull you towards slumber. You sit on your bunk, the wooden slats creaking under your weight, your stomach a hollow ache that seasickness only worsens. The ship's sway, a constant roll, makes eating a challenge, each bite a battle against nausea. The crew promised daily rations, biscuits, salted pork, perhaps a potato, but what arrives is barely food. This morning a sailor tossed a sack of biscuits into the hold, hard as stones and speckled with green mould. You broke one open, its interior crawling with weevils, their tiny bodies wriggling in the dim light of the oil lamp. The pork, when it comes, is slimy, its fat yellowed and rancid, the smell turning your stomach before you can bring it to your lips. Fresh water, stored in barrels below, is cloudy with silt, its taste metallic, rationed to a single cup a day. You sip it slowly, the liquid warm and gritty, trying to quell the hunger that claws at your insides. The food's poor quality is no accident. The ship's provisions, stored in damp holds, spoil quickly in the Atlantic's humid air. Barrels of pork and beef, packed in salt, grow slimy after days at sea, the meat's surface slick with decay. Biscuits, meant to last, absorb moisture, turning soft and mouldy, or become homes for weevils that burrow deep. Potatoes, a rare treat, are often rotten, their skins black, their flesh oozing. The crew, under pressure to cut costs, buys cheap supplies, and the captain prioritizes the first-class saloon, where fresh bread, butter, and even fruit are served daily. In steerage, you're lucky to get a handful of edible scraps, the portions shrinking as the voyage drags on. Bridget, your bunkmate, shares her biscuit with her children, Sean and Mary, their thin faces pale as they chew the mouldy edges, too hungry to care. Hunger shapes every moment. You've tried to stretch your own stores, a sack of dried apples and a few crusts brought from Liverpool, but they're nearly gone, the apples soft and sour, the bread stale. You gave half to Bridget's children yesterday, their eyes wide with gratitude, but now your own hunger sharpens, a dull pain that keeps you awake. The hold buzzes with complaints. Passengers arguing over crumbs, a German labourer shouting about a stolen potato, his voice hoarse with desperation. The crew ignores the pleas, their faces hard as they distribute rations, their hands quick to shove back anyone who begs for more. You've seen a man, gaunt and trembling, try to barter his only coat for a sailor's bread, only to be laughed away, the crew's scorn a reminder of your place. The sensory weight of scarcity is relentless. The hold's air is thick, the the sour stench of spoiled pork mingling with the musty damp of straw and the acrid tang of vomit from seasick passengers. Your hands, raw from gripping the bunk, tremble as you break a biscuit, its mouldy crust crumbling, the weevils scattering. The taste of the food, when you can stomach it, is bitter. Gritty biscuit, greasy pork, water that tastes of rust and decay. Sounds surround you. The ships creak, the waves thud against the hull, the low groans of hungry passengers, the whimpers of children too weak to cry. The oil lamps flicker, their dim light glinting off the mould on your ration, the shadows deepening the hunger in every face. Class divides sharpen the suffering. Above, in the first-class saloon, you've heard of tables set with linen where passengers feast on roast beef, fresh vegetables and wine, their plates cleared by attentive stewards. You glimpsed it once through a hatch, the glow of chandeliers, the scent of baked bread drifting down. In steerage, you wait hours for a sailor to toss a sack of rations, the portions barely enough to dull the hunger. The crew, when they appear, are brusque, their boots stomping through the hold, their voices sharp as they bark orders to stay back. A woman clutching a sick child begs for extra water, but the sailor shrugs, muttering about limited barrels, his eyes cold. The ship's hierarchy is unyielding. Your ticket buys passage, not sustenance, your hunger a problem for you alone. The lack of rights deepens the misery. As a steerage passenger, you have no voice to demand better food, no power to challenge the crew's indifference. The captain, a distant figure, dines with the wealthy, his attention fixed on their comfort. The ship's rules are clear: eat what's given or go without. You've heard of passengers punished for stealing food, locked in the brig, their cries muffled by iron walls. Disease looms as hunger weakens you. The cough spreading through the hold grows louder, and you've seen passengers collapse, their bodies frail from starvation and sickness. The ship's doctor, a shadowy presence, tends only the first class, leaving steerage to fend for itself, your only defence a stubborn will to survive. The emotional toll is a heavy weight. You left Liverpool with dreams of America, a factory job, a small plot of land, but hunger erodes your hope, each mouldy bite a reminder of the journey's cost. You think of home, of meals shared with family, simple bread and stew, now a distant memory. Bridget's story haunts you, her husband starved in Ireland's famine, her children's hunger driving her to this ship. The German labourer beside you speaks of a sister in New York, his voice weak as he chews a rancid scrap, his eyes dull. These stories bind you, but they also break you, each passenger's hunger a mirror of your own, the fear of starvation a constant shadow. The community in steerage offers faint solace. Bridget shares a prayer, her voice soft as she clutches her children, their thin bodies curled against her. A Polish woman, her hands trembling, offers a sip of her precious water, a rare kindness in the hold's despair. But hunger breeds tension. A man accuses another of stealing a biscuit, their shouts echoing until a sailor intervenes, his club raised. Language barriers deepen the divide. You catch only fragments of German or Yiddish, the words sharp with frustration. A Scotsman, his face gaunt, tries to tell stories of America's plenty, but his voice falters, his hunger matching yours. These fragile bonds, forged in shared suffering, are all you have against the isolation of the sea. The days drag, each marked by the bell signalling rations, often late or missing. You venture to the deck when allowed, the air sharp with salt, the wind cutting through your thin coat. The sea is endless, its waves grey and churning, a reminder of your fragility. First-class passengers in furs and silk dine in warmth, their laughter drifting down, while you clutch a mouldy biscuit, its taste bitter against the salt air. The crew drives you back below, the hold's stench hitting like a fist, the darkness swallowing you. You return to your bunk, the straw damp, Bridget's children shivering, their hunger a mirror of your own. As night falls, the hold grows quieter, the groans of hunger softening to murmurs, the lamps dimming to a faint glow. You lie on your bunk, the ship's sway rocking you, the straw's dampness seeping through your clothes. Bridget's children sleep fitfully, their mother's hand stroking their hair, her face etched with worry. The air is heavy, the stench of spoiled food a constant weight. Weeks remain, endless boredom, the threat of fever, the struggle to survive on scraps. For now you close your eyes, the bunk's motion a cruel lullaby, your heart clinging to a stubborn will to endure, pulling you deeper into the miserable life of a transatlantic passenger. The SS Britannia nears the end of its grueling transatlantic journey, its iron hull slicing through the Atlantic's grey waves, the year 1860. You're a steerage passenger, nearly 2 weeks into the crossing from Liverpool to New York, your body worn by seasickness, hunger, and the claustrophobic monotony of the steerage hold. The air below deck reeks of vomit, spoiled food, and damp straw, the dim oil lamps casting flickering shadows on weary faces. Your bunk, shared with Bridget and her children Sean and Mary, is a cramped refuge, its wooden slats a constant ache against your back. The distant cry of "land" from the deck above stirs a flicker of hope, but the toll of the voyage, crowded cabins, rancid rations, endless boredom, lingers heavy. This is no tale of triumph, but of endurance woven softly to lull you towards slumber. You sit on your bunk, the straw damp and scratchy, your hands trembling from weakness, your stomach hollow from days of mouldy biscuits and slimy pork. The ship's sway, once a torment, feels softer now, the waves gentler as the coast nears. A sailor's shout echoes through the hold. "New York tomorrow." The words spark murmurs among the passengers. Irish families, German labourers, Polish mothers, their voices a mix of relief and exhaustion. Bridget's eyes, dulled by hunger, brighten as she whispers to Sean and Mary, promising a new life. Yet the journey's cost weighs on you. The nausea that racked your body, the fights over crumbs, the cough that spread through the hold, claiming a child 2 bunks away. The sight of land, so close, feels like a fragile promise after weeks of suffering. The final day is a flurry of preparation. You pack your bundle, tattered clothes, a worn Bible, a letter from your cousin in New York. Its weight lighter now, your meagre stores long gone. The hold buzzes with restless energy, passengers sorting belongings, brushing straw from their coats, their faces gaunt but hopeful. Bridget combs Mary's hair, her fingers gentle despite their tremble, while Sean clutches the wooden toy you carved, his thin face breaking into a rare smile. The air remains heavy, the stench of vomit and tar unrelenting, but the thought of shore dulls its edge. You've heard tales of New York's chaos, crowded docks, immigration officers, the promise of work, but for now, the simple act of stepping onto land feels like salvation. The crew, brusque as ever, herd you to the deck for inspection. The air above is sharp with salt, the wind cold against your sweat-dampened shirt. You squint against the morning light, the horizon revealing a faint smudge, America's coast, low and green, dotted with ships. First-class passengers in furs and silk stand at the rail, their faces clean, their voices bright with anticipation. You, in steerage, are kept separate, the crew's shouts sharp as they check tickets and health. A man with a hacking cough is pulled aside, his wife's cries echoing as he's marked for quarantine. The fear of being turned back after all you've endured grips you, and you clutch your ticket, its ink faded but intact, your only claim to this new world. The sensory weight of the journey lingers. The hold stench, vomit, spoiled pork, damp straw clings to your clothes, your skin, even as you breathe the deck's fresher air. Your hands, raw from gripping the bunk, ache as you hold your bundle, its canvas rough against your blisters. The taste of the last ration, a gritty biscuit speckled with mould, lingers, a bitter reminder of hunger's grip. Sounds surround you, the ship's engines thudding, the waves lapping the hull, the sailors' barked orders, the murmurs of passengers praying or weeping. The deck's wooden planks, slick with spray, creak underfoot, the cold seeping through your worn boots. The sight of land, faint but growing, stirs a warmth in your chest, tempered by the exhaustion etched into your bones. The class divide, stark throughout the voyage, is glaring now. First-class passengers, rested and fed, prepare to disembark with trunks of fine clothes, their passage smoothed by wealth and influence. You've glimpsed their world, chandeliers in the saloon, the scent of roast beef drifting below, and it feels like another universe. In steerage, you're herded like livestock, your belongings meagre, your body weakened by weeks of scarcity. The crew, their faces hard, prioritize the wealthy, their voices softening as they guide them to private boats. You, meanwhile, face hours of waiting, inspections and questions, the immigration process a final hurdle. A sailor shoves past, ignoring Bridget's plea for water for her children, his sneer a reminder of your place in the ship's hierarchy. The lack of rights has shaped every moment. As a steerage passenger, you've had no voice, no power to demand better food or air. The captain, a distant figure in a braided coat, never ventured below, his attention fixed on the saloon's guests. The ship's rules were ironclad: stay below, eat what's given, endure. You've seen passengers punished for defiance, locked in the brig for stealing a crust, their cries muffled. Disease, a constant shadow, claimed lives. The child's death, his small body wrapped in canvas and dropped overboard, haunts you, his mother's wails echoing in the hold. Your own health, fragile from hunger and sickness, feels like a threadbare rope, the cough in your chest a quiet warning of what might come. The emotional toll is a heavy cloak. You left Liverpool with dreams of America, a factory job, a small home, a life free from the hunger that drove you from home. But the crossing has tested your resolve, the nausea that left you retching, the hunger that gnawed at your strength, the boredom that dulled your spirit, the fear of storms or fever. You think of home, of a mother's tearful wave, a father's gruff nod, their faces fading across the ocean. Bridget's story mirrors yours. Her husband lost to famine, her children's survival, her only drive. Hans, the German labourer, speaks of a brother in New York, his voice weak but hopeful. These stories, whispered in the hold's dark, bind you, but they also weigh you down, each passenger's suffering a reflection of your own. The community in steerage, fragile but vital, has been your lifeline. Bridget's prayers, soft and Gaelic, offered comfort, her hand steadying yours during a storm. A Polish woman shared a sip of water, her eyes kind despite her own hunger. Duncan, the Scotsman, told tales of America's promise, his voice faltering but persistent, a spark against the gloom. Yet tensions flared. Fights over space, accusations of theft, language barriers deepening mistrust. These bonds, strained by hardship, held you together, a shared will to survive the crossing's trials. Now, as land nears, you exchange nods with hands, a silent wish for luck, and help Bridget tie her children's shoes, their small feet unsteady from weeks of confinement. The reflection on this journey is bittersweet. The steamship, a marvel of iron and coal, shrank the Atlantic, carrying thousands to new lives, immigrants like you, seeking work, families fleeing poverty, dreamers chasing myths of gold. But the cost was steep. Weeks of sickness, starvation and monotony, lives lost to fever or despair, stories unrecorded in the annals of history. Your endurance, uncelebrated, mirrors countless others, their names forgotten, but their labour building a nation. The modern world, with its swift planes and abundant food, owes a debt to your struggle, its comforts a stark contrast to your suffering, its freedoms a dream you could barely imagine. As the ship nears New York, the deck grows crowded, passengers pressing against the rail, their eyes fixed on the growing shore. The Statue of Liberty is years from rising, but the harbour buzzes, ships, ferries, the distant clamour of a city alive with promise. You stand with Bridget, her children clinging to her skirt, their faces pale but hopeful. The crew shouts, herding you for inspection, their voices sharp. You clutch your bundle, the letter from your cousin, a beacon, promising a job, a bed, a start. The journey's end is near, but its scars remain. Hunger, sickness, the weight of survival. For now, you close your eyes, the ship's sway fading, your heart carrying a stubborn will to endure, pulling you deeper into the life of a transatlantic passenger. The SS Britannia churns through the Atlantic's grey swells, its engines a low, relentless hum, the year 1860. You're a steerage passenger, 12 days into the grueling crossing from Liverpool to New York, your body battered by seasickness, hunger, and the suffocating monotony of the steerage hold. The air below deck is a thick miasma of vomit, rancid pork, and damp straw, the flickering oil lamps casting shadows on pale, weary faces. Your bunk, shared with Bridget and her children, Sean and Mary, is a cramped refuge, its wooden slats digging into your aching back. A hacking cough echoes through the hold, a harbinger of disease, cholera, fever, dysentery, spreading in the crowded, filthy space. Above, first-class passengers breathe fresh air, while here you face the crew's harsh indifference, their orders barked over your pleas for medicine or water. This is no tale of adventure, but of survival, woven softly to lull you toward slumber. You lie on your bunk, the straw damp and prickly, your body shivering despite the hold's stifling heat. A cough, dry and relentless, rings from a nearby bunk, its rhythm a grim pulse in the dark. It began days ago, a passenger's fever, a child's dull eyes, but now it's a spreading terror, tightening your chest with dread. The hold, packed with 100 souls, is a breeding ground for sickness. Buckets used as toilets overflow, their stench mingling with the sour reek of spoiled food and the musky damp of straw. Bridget clutches her children, her face pale as she checks Sean's forehead, her voice low with fear. You've seen death already. A boy, wrapped in canvas, dropped overboard, his mother's wails haunting the hold. The crew, distant and cold, offer no help, their boots stomping above as they cater to the wealthy, leaving you to face disease and despair in the ship's belly. The hold's conditions invite illness. The air, heavy with moisture, breeds mold on the walls, its sour smell blending with the stench of vomit and waste. Water, rationed to a cloudy cup daily, tastes of rust, barely enough to wet your parched throat. Hygiene is a lost hope. Seawater for washing stings your raw hands, and soap is a first-class luxury. The buckets, rarely emptied, spill when the ship rolls, spreading filth across the floor. Hans, the German labourer, coughs into his sleeve, his face flushed, while a Polish woman prays over her feverish son, her voice trembling. Your own cough, slight but persistent, gnaws at your strength, each breath a reminder of the hold's dangers. The fear of cholera, whispered in tales of past voyages where half the passengers perished, hangs heavy, its spectre as real as the ship's creak. The crew's indifference deepens the misery. The ship's doctor, a shadowy figure in a black coat, tends only the first class, his visits to steerage rare and fleeting. You've heard of him prescribing brandy above, but here a sailor dismisses a woman's plea for medicine with a sneer, muttering about filthy immigrants. The captain, a distant myth in a braided coat, never ventures below, his orders filtering through sailors who treat you like cargo. Yesterday, a man, burning with fever, was dragged to a curtained corner, the ship's makeshift sick bay. His cries ignored as the crew avoided him, fearing contagion. You pleaded for water for Bridget's children, but the sailor, his face hard, shoved past, his voice sharp. "Wait your turn." The ship's hierarchy is unyielding, your ticket granting passage but no dignity, your suffering a nuisance to those above. Tensions flare in the hold's close quarters. The lack of space, bunks inches apart, elbows brushing, breeds resentment. Hans accused a Polish man of stealing his flask, their shouts cut short by a sailors' club banging the wall. Language barriers sharpen the divide. You catch fragments of Yiddish or German, the words angry, the gestures clear. Bridget keeps her children close, wary of a man who glared when Sean bumped his bunk. Duncan, the Scotsman, tries to ease the mood with stories of New York, but his cough interrupts, his bravado fading. The fear of disease fuels mistrust. A woman hoards her water, fearing it'll spread fever. Another snaps at a neighbour for coughing too close. The hold is a powder keg, every cough or groan a spark, the crew's harshness fanning the flames. The sensory weight is crushing. The hold's air is a miasma, the stench of waste, vomit and mould blending with the tarry smell of the ship's seams. Your hands, raw from gripping the bunk, tremble as you wipe sweat from your brow, the skin clammy despite the chill. The taste of the morning's biscuit, gritty, mouldy, lingers, your stomach too weak to crave more. Sounds surround you. The ships groan, the waves thud, the hacking coughs, the low prayers of passengers, the sailors' barked orders above. The oil lamps flicker, their dim light glinting off the damp walls, the shadows swaying with the ship's roll, amplifying your unease. The straw bedding scratches your skin, its dampness seeping through your thin shirt, chilling your bones as you shiver between coughs. The lack of rights is a constant chain. As a steerage passenger, you have no voice to demand medicine or cleaner conditions. The captain's orders are law, his attention fixed on the saloon's guests, where chandeliers glow and wine flows. The sailors, weathered and callous, see you as a burden, their boots stomping through the hold, their clubs ready for defiance. You've heard of passengers locked in the brig for arguing, their cries muffled by iron walls. A woman begging for her sick child was shoved back, her pleas ignored. Disease is your problem, not theirs, and the threat of quarantine looms. If you reach New York feverish, you could be detained, your dreams of a new life stalled on an island of the sick. The emotional toll is a heavy shroud. You left Liverpool with hopes of America, a job, a home, but the hold's sickness erodes your resolve, each cough a reminder of mortality. You think of home, of a mother's tearful wave, a sibling's promise to write, their faces fading across the ocean. Bridget's story haunts you. Her husband starved in Ireland's famine, her children's survival her only drive. Hans speaks of a brother in New York, his voice weak with fever, his eyes scanning the hold for hope. These stories bind you, but they also break you, each passenger's fear mirroring your own, the spectre of death, a shared shadow. The crew's cruelty deepens the wound, each ignored plea, each harsh word, a reminder of your powerlessness. The community in steerage offers faint solace. Bridget's prayers, soft and Gaelic, are a quiet rhythm, her hand steadying Mary's trembling shoulders. A Polish woman shares a rag to cool her son's fever, her eyes kind despite her own fear. Duncan, his cough worsening, offers a sip of water from his flask, a rare kindness. But resentment festers. A man accuses another of spreading sickness, their argument silenced by a sailor's shout. Language barriers deepen mistrust. You understand little of the Polish or German murmurs, the words sharp with fear. These fragile bonds, forged in suffering, hold you together, but the crew's harshness frays them, their authority a wall between you and survival. The days blur, each marked by the bell signalling rations, often late or inedible. You venture to the deck when allowed, the air sharp with salt, the wind cutting through your thin coat. First-class passengers in silk and furs laugh under awnings, their world untouched by the hold's misery. You lean against the rail, the iron cold, the sea a grey expanse, the crew's shouts driving you back below. The hold's stench hits like a fist, the darkness swallowing you. You return to your bunk, the straw damp, Bridget's children curled close, their coughs a quiet echo of the hold's fear. As night falls, the hold grows quieter, the cough softening to whimpers, the lamps dimming to a faint glow. You lie on your bunk, the ship's sway rocking you, the straw's dampness seeping through your clothes. Bridget's children sleep fitfully, their mother's hand resting on their heads, her face etched with worry. The air is heavy, the stench of sickness and waste a constant weight. Days remain, the threat of quarantine, the crew's indifference, the struggle to survive. For now, you close your eyes, the bunk's motion a cruel lullaby. your heart clinging to a stubborn will to endure, pulling you deeper into the miserable life of a transatlantic passenger. The SS Britannia battles the Atlantic's churning waves, its iron hull groaning under the strain. The year 1860. You're a steerage passenger, 13 days into the grueling crossing from Liverpool to New York, your body worn by sickness, hunger, and the stifling hold. The air below deck reeks of vomit, mouldy straw, and the sour tang of fear, the oil lamps swaying wildly in the dimness. Your bunk, shared with Bridget and her children, Sean and Mary, creaks as the ship lurches, a violent storm descending with a fury that shakes the timbers. Above, first-class passengers huddle in their cabins, but here, in the crowded steerage, you face the terror of flooding, the threat of shipwreck, and the desperate prayers that rise against the gale. This is no tale of adventure, but of survival, woven softly to lull you towards slumber. You cling to your bunk, the wooden slats biting your palms, your heart pounding as the ship tilts sharply, the floor rising and falling like a living thing. The storm struck at dusk, announced by a sailor's shout and the sudden howl of wind through the hatches. Now, the hold is a chaos of sound and motion. Waves crash against the hull, their thud shaking the walls. Timbers groan, as if the ship might split. Passengers cry out, their voices a frantic hum of prayers and sobs. Bridget pulls her children close, her face pale, her lips moving in silent Gaelic prayers. Sean whimpers, his small hands clutching your arm, while Mary buries her face in her mother's shawl. The fear is palpable, a shared dread that the Britannia, this iron marvel, could be swallowed by the Atlantic's wrath. The storm's ferocity is relentless. The ship pitches violently, throwing you against the bunk's edge, your stomach twisting, not from seasickness now, but from terror. Water seeps through the seams, cold and salty, pooling on the floor, soaking the straw bedding. The oil lamps swing, their light flickering, casting wild shadows on faces etched with panic. A man nearby, a Polish labourer, shouts in his language, his voice drowned by the wind's roar, while Hans, the German, grips his bunk, his cough silenced by fear. You've heard tales of ships lost to storms, masts snapped, holds flooded, passengers swept away, and each lurch feels like the end, the sea a hungry beast clawing at the hull. The crew's response is a distant echo. Sailors' boots pound above, their shouts barely audible over the gale's howl. The hatches are sealed, trapping you in the hold, the air growing heavier, the stench of fear and filth thickening. A sailor, drenched and cursing, forces his way through, checking for leaks, his lantern casting a sickly glow. You beg for news. Will the ship hold? But he shoves past, his voice sharp. Stay down. The captain, a myth in his braided coat, is nowhere, his orders lost in the chaos. The crew's focus is the ship's survival, not yours. First-class passengers, you've heard, are reassured in their saloon, while steerage is left to pray and wait, your lives secondary to the wealthy above. The sensory weight is overwhelming. The hold's air is thick, the stench of vomit, waste and damp straw mingling with the salty tang of seawater leaking through. Your hands, raw from gripping the bunk, tremble as you brace against another lurch, the wood splintering under your nails. The taste of fear coats your tongue, bitter as the mouldy biscuits you choked down hours ago. Sounds assault you. The winds scream, the waves crash, the creak of timbers, the passengers' prayers in a dozen tongues, the children's sobs. The lamps flicker, their light dimming as oil spills, the shadows twisting with the ship's roll, amplifying the chaos. The floor is slick, the cold water soaking your boots, chilling your bones as you shiver in your thin shirt. The emotional toll is a crushing wave. You left Liverpool with dreams of America, a job, a home. But the storm's fury drowns hope. Each crash of waves a reminder of your fragility. You think of home, of a mother's tearful wave, a sibling's promise to write, their faces fading in the dark. Bridget's prayers, soft and desperate, echo your own fear, her children's trembling a mirror of your own. Hans mutters about his brother in New York, his voice shaking, while a Polish woman's hymn, faint but steady, fights the gale's roar. These stories bind you, but the storm isolates you, the fear of death, a shared weight, the crew's indifference, a bitter sting. The community in steerage, fragile but vital, clings to survival. Bridget's prayers grow louder, joined by others, a chorus of Latin, Gaelic and Yiddish rising against the storm. A Polish man offers his coat to cover a leaking seam, his hands trembling but kind. Duncan, the Scotsman, tries to calm a child with a whispered tale, his cough muted by the wind's howl. But fear frays these bonds. A man snaps at another for praying too loudly, their argument drowned by the storm. Language barriers deepen the chaos. You catch only fragments of words, the emotions roar. These fleeting acts of kindness, strained by terror, are all you have against the sea's wrath. As the storm rages, the hold grows darker, the lamps nearly spent, the air heavy with fear. You lie on your bunk, the straw sodden, Bridget's children curled close, their breaths uneven. The ship's sway is a violent lullaby, each lurch a test of endurance. Hours pass, the wind's howl softening, the waves less fierce. A sailor shouts that the storm is easing, but the hold remains tense, the fear of another gale lingering. Days remain, disease, hunger, the wait for land. For now, you close your eyes, the bunk's motion steadying, your heart clinging to a stubborn will to endure, pulling you deeper into the miserable life of a transatlantic passenger. The SS Britannia trudges through the Atlantic's restless waves, its iron hull creaking under the strain, the year 1860. You're a steerage passenger, 14 days into the grueling crossing from Liverpool to New York, your body worn thin by seasickness, hunger, and the suffocating monotony of the steerage hold. The air below deck is a heavy fog of vomit, rancid pork, and damp straw, the dim oil lamps casting flickering shadows on gaunt, weary faces. Your bunk, shared with Bridget and her children, Sean and Mary, is a cramped refuge, its wooden slats biting into your aching back. In the hold's dimness, stories emerge, whispered tales of famine, loss, and hope from passengers bound by hardship. These voices, Irish, German, Polish, weave a fragile tapestry of dreams against the backdrop of disease, boredom, and the crew's harsh indifference. This is no tale of adventure, but of endurance, woven softly to lull you towards slumber. You sit on your bunk, the straw damp and prickly, your hands idle, your stomach hollow from days of mouldy biscuits and slimy water. The ship's sway, a constant rhythm, rocks the hold where 100 souls huddle, their faces etched with fatigue and fear. The storm of last night has passed, leaving a tense quiet, broken only by coughs and murmurs. Bridget, your bunkmate, combs Mary's hair with trembling fingers, her voice low as she tells Sean a story of Ireland's green hills, her eyes distant with memory. Around you, other passengers share their own tales, their words a faint light in the hold's gloom, stories of why they left, what they lost, and what they hope to find. These voices, in accents thick with grief and grit, are the pulse of steerage, binding you in shared suffering, even as the crew's boots stomp above, their orders sharp and uncaring. Bridget's story is the first to reach you, whispered as she soothes her children, their thin frames curled against her. She speaks of County Mayo, where the potato blight turned fields to rot, her husband buried in a pauper's grave, his body wasted by hunger. "We ate grass," she murmurs, her voice breaking, "and still the children cried." She sold her wedding ring to buy passage, her only thought to save Sean and Mary, their eyes wide as she promises a New York boarding house, a cousin's letter her guide. You nod, your own memories stirring, of a mother's tearful wave, a father's gruff nod, a village left behind for a cousin's promise of work. Bridget's tale, raw and quiet, is a mirror of your own, her hope a fragile thread against the hold's despair. Across the hold, Hans, the German labourer, leans against his bunk, his cough softer now, his voice hoarse as he shares his story. He's from Bavaria, a carpenter whose workshop closed when factories outpaced his trade. His brother, already in New York, wrote of tenements and jobs, enough to build a new life. Hans sold his tools, his hands still calloused, clutching a letter worn soft from reading. "He says there's work," Hans mutters, his eyes scanning the hold, wary of thieves. His story is one of reinvention, but fear lingers. Fever has weakened him, and the crew's indifference, their sneers at his cough, cuts deep. You offer a nod, your own dreams of a factory job echoing his, the uncertainty of America a shared weight. A Polish woman, Anna, sits 2 bunks away, her son Jan feverish in her lap, his small body trembling. Her voice, soft with a lilting accent, tells of Warsaw, where soldiers burned her village, her husband conscripted, never to return. She fled with Jan, her only surviving child, her sewing skills, her ticket to America. "They need seamstresses," she whispers, stroking Jan's hair, her eyes bright with tears. Her story is one of loss, her hope pinned on a city she's never seen, its name a prayer against the hold's sickness. You share a rag to cool Jan's forehead, your hands shaking from your own weakness, her gratitude a quiet bond in the dark. Duncan, the Scotsman, tries to lift the mood, his voice rough but warm as he spins tales of Glasgow's shipyards where he worked before drink and debt drove him to sea. He dreams of California's gold fields, his stories of nuggets and rivers a spark in the hold's gloom. But his cough betrays him, his bravado fading as he clutches his bunk, the storm's terror still fresh. His tales, half true, half hope, draw a small crowd, their laughter faint but real, a rare escape from the hold's weight. You listen, your own dreams of a new start flickering, the crew's distant shouts a reminder of your powerlessness. These stories, whispered in the hold's dimness, are a lifeline, weaving a fragile community among strangers. A Yiddish-speaking tailor shares a crust with a neighbour, his tale of pogroms hushed but urgent. An Irish girl, barely 16, speaks of a fiancé waiting in Boston, her voice trembling with hope. Each story is a thread binding you to Hans, Anna, Duncan and Bridget, your shared hardships, seasickness, hunger, the threat of cholera, a common language. But tensions linger. A man snaps at Duncan for talking too loudly, his hunger sharpening his temper. Language barriers deepen mistrust. You catch only fragments of Polish or German, the words roar with fear. The crew's indifference fuels resentment, their boots stomping above, their orders barked through the hatch. Quiet down. The sensory weight is relentless. The hold's air is thick, the stench of vomit, waste and mould, blending with the tarry smell of the ship's seams. Your hands, raw from gripping the bunk, tremble as you clutch your Bible, its pages worn, a tether to home. The taste of the morning's ration, gritty biscuit, sour water lingers, your stomach too weak to crave more. Sounds surround you, the ship's creak, the waves' thud, the coughs and prayers, the sailors' shouts above. The oil lamps flicker, their dim light glinting off damp walls, the shadows swaying with the ship's roll, amplifying the hold's claustrophobia. The straw bedding scratches your skin, its dampness chilling your bones, your cough a quiet echo of the hold's sickness. The crew's authority is a constant chain. Sailors, their faces weathered, patrol the hold, their clubs ready for defiance. The captain, a distant figure, caters to the first class, their saloon glowing with warmth while you shiver below. You've seen a sailor shove a woman begging for medicine, her child's fever ignored, his sneer cutting. Wait for New York. The ship's hierarchy is rigid. Your ticket buys passage, not care, your stories unheard by those above. Disease is a shared terror. Jan's fever worsens, Anna's prayers growing desperate, while Hans's cough deepens, his strength fading. The fear of quarantine looms. If you reach shore sick, you could be detained, your dreams stalled. The emotional toll is a heavy cloak. You left Liverpool with hopes of a job, a home, but the hold's stories, Bridget's famine, Hans's lost trade, Anna's burned village, mirror your own losses, eroding hope. You think of home, a mother's tearful wave, a sibling's promise to write, their faces fading across the ocean. The crew's cruelty, their dismissal of your pain, deepens the wound, each ignored plea a reminder of your powerlessness. Yet the passengers' voices, soft and resilient, offer solace. Bridget's prayers, Anna's lullaby, Duncan's tales, a fragile light against the dark. As night falls, the hold grows quieter, the stories fading to murmurs, the lamps dimming to a faint glow. You lie on your bunk, the straw sodden, Bridget's children curled close, their breaths uneven. The ship's sway is a gentle lullaby, the voices of the hold a soft echo in your mind. Days remain, disease, hunger, the wait for land. For now, you close your eyes, the bunk's motion rocking you, your heart clinging to the stories of survival, pulling you deeper into the miserable life of a transatlantic passenger. The SS Britannia ploughs through the Atlantic's restless grey waves, its iron hull creaking under the weight of the sea, the year 1860. You're a steerage passenger, 15 days into the grueling crossing from Liverpool to New York, your body weakened by seasickness, hunger and the ever-present shadow of disease. The steerage hold, your suffocating home, reeks of vomit, rancid pork, and the musty damp of straw, the dim oil lamps casting flickering shadows on gaunt, weary faces. Your bunk, shared with Bridget and her children, Sean and Mary, is a cramped refuge, its wooden slats biting into your aching back. In this dark, crowded space, faith becomes a lifeline, prayers whispered in Gaelic, hymns sung in German, rituals murmured in Yiddish, binding passengers in a fragile web of hope against the despair of the voyage. Above, First-class passengers attend polished services in the saloon, but here, in the hold's gloom, you cling to religion, a quiet defiance against the crew's indifference and the sea's cruelty. This is no tale of adventure, but of endurance, woven softly to lull you toward slumber. You sit on your bunk, the straw damp and prickly, your hands clutching a worn Bible, its pages soft from years of touch. The ship's sway, a constant rhythm, rocks the hold, where 100 souls huddle, their faces pale, their eyes heavy with exhaustion. The storm of 2 nights ago has faded, but its terror lingers, the memory of crashing waves and creaking timbers fueling the prayers that now rise in the hold. Bridget, your bunkmate, kneels beside her children, her rosary beads clicking softly, her voice murmuring a Catholic prayer in Gaelic, its cadence a soothing hum. Around you, other voices join, a German labourer's Lutheran hymn, a Polish woman's whispered supplication, a Jewish tailor's quiet recitation of psalms, each a thread in the tapestry of faith that holds the steerage together. These rituals, born of desperation and hope, are a faint light against the darkness of hunger, sickness, and the crew's harsh neglect. Bridget's faith is a cornerstone, her prayers a daily rhythm. Each morning she gathers Sean and Mary, their thin faces solemn, and leads them in the rosary, her fingers tracing the beads she's carried from Ireland. "Hail Mary, full of grace," she whispers, her voice steady despite her sunken cheeks, her eyes fixed on a small crucifix tucked in her shawl. She speaks of a priest in Mayo who blessed their journey, promising God's protection across the sea. The storm tested that promise, but she clings to it, her prayers a shield for her children who repeat the words softly, their voices trembling with hunger. You join in, your own Protestant prayers quieter, the familiar words of the Lord's Prayer grounding you, a tether to the village church you left behind. Bridget's faith, fierce and unyielding, stirs your own, a shared solace in the hold's misery. Across the hold, Hans, the German carpenter, sings a hymn, his voice rough from coughing but resonant, a Lutheran melody from his Bavarian village. "Ein feste Burg ist unser Gott," he intones. "A mighty fortress is our God," the words drawing a small crowd, their heads bowed, their voices joining in German or humming along. Hans speaks of Sunday services in his workshop where sawdust clung to his knees as he prayed for prosperity. Now, weakened by fever, he sings to defy the hold's despair, his eyes bright with the hope of a New York church where his brother worships. You listen, the hymn's rhythm blending with the ship's creak, its strength bolstering your own faltering spirit, even as a sailor's shout from above interrupts, his voice sharp. "Keep it down!" Anna, the Polish seamstress, prays over her son, Jan, whose fever has worsened, his small body limp in her lap. Her voice, soft with a Slavic lilt, murmurs a Catholic litany, her hands cradling a wooden icon of the Virgin Mary, its paint chipped from years of devotion. She speaks of a Warsaw church, its bells silenced by war, her husband lost to soldiers, her faith her only anchor. "Matka Boska, save him," she whispers, her eyes wet as she presses the icon to Jan's forehead. You offer a rag to cool his fever, your hands trembling from your own weakness, her gratitude a quiet bond. Her prayers, fervent and unbroken, echo Bridget's, a reminder of the women who carry faith through the hold's darkness, their voices a soft defiance against the sea's cruelty. A Jewish tailor, Isaac sits in a corner, his tallit draped over his shoulders, his lips moving silently as he recites psalms in Yiddish. His story, shared in broken English, speaks of a shtetl burned by pogroms, his family scattered, his Torah scroll left behind. He prays for safety, for a New York synagogue where he can start anew, his voice a low hum that calms a nearby child. You watch, your Bible open, its verses a distant cousin to his, the shared act of prayer bridging the gap between your faiths. Isaac's rituals, quiet but steady, draw others. A Polish Jew joins him, their voices blending, a faint light in the hold's gloom, even as a sailor's boot stomps nearby, his sneer a reminder of the crew's disdain. The crew's indifference is a constant weight. The captain, a distant figure, leads a Sunday service in the saloon you've heard, with hymns and sermons for the first class, their voices drifting through the deck. In steerage you make do with makeshift services, Bridget's rosary, Hans's hymns, Isaac's psalms, held in the hold's dimness, interrupted by sailors' shouts or the ship's lurch. A sailor passing through mocks a praying woman, his voice cutting, "Prayers won't fill your belly." The ship's doctor, tending only the wealthy, ignores Jan's fever, leaving Anna to rely on faith alone. The hierarchy is rigid. Your ticket buys passage, not respect. Your ritual's a nuisance to those above, their boots stomping as they prioritize the saloon's comfort. The sensory weight is relentless. The hold's air is thick, the stench of vomit, waste and mould blending with the tarry smell of the ship's seams. Your hands, raw from gripping the bunk, clutch your Bible, its leather cover worn, a tether to home. The taste of the morning's ration, gritty biscuit, sour water, lingers, your stomach too weak to crave more. Sounds surround you. The ship's groan, the waves' thud, the coughs and prayers, the sailors' barked orders. The oil lamps flicker, their dim light glinting off damp walls, the shadows swaying with the ship's roll, amplifying the hold's claustrophobia. The straw bedding scratches your skin, its dampness chilling your bones, your cough a quiet echo of the hold's sickness. The emotional toll is a heavy shroud. You left Liverpool with dreams of America, a job, a home, but the hold's stories, Bridget's famine, Hans's lost trade, Anna's war-torn village, mirror your own losses, testing your hope. The crew's cruelty, their dismissal of your prayers, deepens the wound, each ignored plea a reminder of your powerlessness. Yet faith binds you. Bridget's rosary, Hans's hymn, Anna's icon, Isaac's psalms. A fragile community forged in shared devotion. Tensions linger. A man snaps at Isaac for praying too loudly, his hunger sharpening his temper. But a shared hymn soothes the rift, voices rising against the dark. The community in steerage, frail but vital, finds strength in faith. Bridget shares her rosary with a Polish woman, their prayers blending. Hans leads a hymn, joined by a German family, their voices a faint bulwark against despair. Isaac's psalms draw a small circle, their heads bowed, their faith a quiet rebellion. But disease threatens, a cough spreads, Jan's fever worsens, and fear frays bonds. A sailor's shout scatters a prayer circle, his club banging the wall, his voice harsh. Enough! Language barriers deepen mistrust. You catch only fragments of Yiddish or Polish, the words roar with fear. Yet these rituals, whispered in the hold's gloom, are a lifeline, a shared hope against the sea's cruelty. As night falls, the hold grows quieter, the prayers fading to murmurs, the lamps dimming to a faint glow. You lie on your bunk, the straw sodden, Bridget's children curled close, their breaths uneven. The ship's sway is a gentle lullaby, the voices of faith, Gaelic, German, Yiddish, a soft echo in your mind. Days remain, hunger, sickness, the wait for land. For now, you close your eyes, the bunk's motion rocking you, your heart clinging to the prayers of the hold, pulling you deeper into the miserable life of a transatlantic passenger. The SS Britannia trudges through the Atlantic's endless grey waves, its iron hull groaning under the sea's weight, the year 1860. You're a steerage passenger, 16 days into the grueling crossing from Liverpool to New York, your body weary from seasickness, hunger, and the relentless confinement of the steerage hold. The air below deck is thick with the stench of vomit, rancid pork, and damp straw, the dim oil lamps casting flickering shadows on pale, gaunt faces. Your bunk, shared with Bridget and her children, Sean and Mary, is a cramped refuge, its wooden slats digging into your aching back. In this suffocating space, women and children bear the voyage's heaviest burdens, hunger, sickness, and the crew's indifference, yet their quiet resilience, in caring for each other, weaves a fragile strength through the hold's despair. Above, first-class passengers walk polished decks, but here, in the ship's belly, you witness the vulnerability and courage of mothers and their young. This is no tale of adventure, but of endurance, woven softly to lull you towards slumber. You sit on your bunk, the straw damp and scratchy, your hands clutching a tattered shawl, your body shivering in the hold's humid chill. The ship's sway, a constant rhythm, rocks the hold where 100 souls huddle, their faces etched with exhaustion. Bridget, your bunkmate, kneels beside her children, her fingers combing Mary's tangled hair, her voice a soft murmur as she soothes Sean's cough. Around you, women and children dominate the steerage, mothers clutching infants, girls mending clothes, boys clinging to their mothers' skirts, their presence a quiet pulse in the hold's gloom. Their stories, whispered in Gaelic, Polish, or Yiddish, speak of loss and hope, their care for each other a defiant light against the darkness of hunger, disease, and the crew's cold neglect. Bridget's strength is a beacon, her every act a testament to survival. She wakes before dawn, her hands trembling as she breaks a mouldy biscuit to share with Sean and Mary, their thin faces pale with hunger. "Eat, my loves," she whispers, her voice steady despite her own weakness, her eyes scanning their small bodies for signs of fever. She speaks of Ireland's famine, her husband buried in a shallow grave, her children's survival her only reason to board this ship. Her rosary beads, worn smooth, click softly as she prays, her faith a shield against the hold's misery. You offer a crust from your dwindling stores, your hands shaking, her gratitude a quiet bond. Her resilience in feeding her children before herself mirrors the other women, their care a silent rebellion against the voyage's cruelty. Across the hold, Anna, the Polish seamstress, cradles her son, Jan, his fever burning hotter, his small body limp against her. Her hands, rough from years of needlework, stroke his hair, her voice singing a Polish lullaby, its melody faint but haunting. She speaks of Warsaw, where war took her husband, leaving her and Jan to flee with nothing but a sewing kit and an icon of the Virgin Mary. "He'll work in a factory," she murmurs, her eyes wet as she cools Jan's forehead with a damp rag. Her strength is in her gentleness, her refusal to let despair claim her son, even as the crew ignores her pleas for medicine. You share a sip of your water, its metallic taste bitter, and Anna's nod, heavy with thanks, binds you in the hold's shared struggle. A young Irish girl, Ellen, barely 16, sits nearby, mending a torn shawl with a borrowed needle, her fingers clumsy from hunger. Her story, whispered to a neighbour, tells of a fiancé in Boston, a labourer who promised marriage if she could reach him. "He's waiting," she says, her voice trembling with hope, her eyes darting to the hatch as if land might appear. She cares for a younger boy, not her brother, whose mother is too sick to rise, feeding him scraps and singing to quiet his cries. Her youth belies her strength, her small acts of kindness a defiance of the hold's despair. You watch, your own memories of a sister left behind stirring, her courage a mirror of the women who hold the steerage together. Children, frail and vulnerable, bear the voyage's weight most heavily. Sean and Mary, Bridget's children, huddle close, their eyes wide with fear, their coughs a quiet echo of the hold's sickness. Sean, no older than 8, clutches the wooden toy you carved, his fingers tracing its edges, while Mary, 6, clings to her mother's skirt, her voice silent since the storm. Other children fare worse. An infant's wail pierces the hold, its mother too weak to nurse. A boy, left orphaned by fever, stares blankly, his small body shivering. The women share what little they have, rags, water, a whispered story, to ease their suffering, their care a fragile net against the hold's cruelty. You offer Mary a piece of string to braid, her small smile a fleeting warmth in the dark. The crew's indifference deepens the women's burden. Sailors, their faces weathered, patrol the hold, their boots stomping, their voices sharp as they dismiss pleas for help. The ship's doctor, a distant figure, tends only the first class, leaving Jan's fever untreated. Anna's prayers, his only medicine. A sailor passing through shoves a woman begging for water, his sneer cutting, "Feed your own brat." The captain, unseen in his saloon, prioritizes the wealthy, their children rosy-cheeked and clean, while steerage's young shiver in filth. The hierarchy is rigid, your ticket buys passage, not care. The women's pleas ignored, their children's cries a nuisance to those above. The sensory weight is crushing. The hold's air is a miasma, the stench of vomit, waste and mould blending with the tarry smell of the ship's seams. Your hands, raw from gripping the bunk, tremble as you clutch your shawl, its fabric worn thin. The taste of the morning's ration, gritty biscuit, sour water, lingers, your stomach too weak to crave more. Sounds surround you, the ship's groan, the waves' thud, the coughs and cries of children, the soft murmurs of women's prayers. The oil lamps flicker, their dim light glinting off damp walls, the shadows swaying with the ship's roll, amplifying the hold's claustrophobia. The straw bedding scratches your skin, its dampness chilling your bones, your cough a quiet echo of the hold's sickness. The emotional toll is a heavy shroud. You left Liverpool with dreams of America, a job, a home. But the women's stories, Bridget's famine, Anna's war, Ellen's hope, mirror your own losses, testing your resolve. The crew's cruelty, their dismissal of mother's pleas, deepens the wound, each ignored cry a reminder of your powerlessness. Yet the women's resilience, Bridget's prayers, Anna's lullaby, Ellen's care for a stranger's child, offers solace, a quiet strength that binds the hold. Tensions flare. A woman snaps at another for coughing near her child, fear sharpening her voice, but a shared rag or song soothes the rift, their care a defiant light. The community in steerage, fragile but vital, rests on women's shoulders. Bridget shares her rosary with a Polish mother, their prayers blending. Anna offers a scrap of cloth to wrap an infant, her hands steady despite her own fear. Ellen sings to a group of children, their eyes heavy but calm, her voice a faint escape from the hold's gloom. But disease threatens, Jan's fever worsens, a child's cough turns to silence and fear frays bonds. A sailor's shout scatters a group of women praying, his club banging the wall, his voice harsh. Enough! Language barriers deepen mistrust. You catch only fragments of Polish or Yiddish, the words roar with fear. Yet these women, their children clinging to them, are the hold's heart, their resilience a lifeline against the sea's cruelty. As night falls, the hold grows quieter, the cries fading to murmurs, the lamps dimming to a faint glow. You lie on your bunk, the straw sodden, Bridget's children curled close, their breaths uneven. The ship's sway is a gentle lullaby, the women's voices, prayers, songs, whispered comfort, a soft echo in your mind. Days remain, disease, hunger, the wait for land. For now, you close your eyes, the bunk's motion rocking you, your heart clinging to the resilience of the women and children, pulling you deeper into the miserable life of a transatlantic passenger. The SS Britannia battles the Atlantic's grey waves, its engines a steady thrum, the year 1860. You're a steerage passenger, 17 days into the gruelling crossing from Liverpool to New York, your body worn by hunger, sickness, and the stifling hold. The air below reeks of vomit and damp straw. The oil lamps dim. Your bunk, shared with Bridget and her children, creaks with the ship's sway. Above, the crew, sailors, stokers, officers, rule the decks, their boots stomping, their voices sharp. Their world of grueling work and rigid discipline contrasts your misery, yet their own hardships fuel their indifference to you. This is no tale of adventure, but of endurance, woven softly to lull you towards slumber. You lie on your bunk, the straw sodden, your cough a faint echo of the hold's sickness. The sailors' shouts pierce the hold, their orders barked through the hatch, "Stay below." Their world is the deck above, ropes, coal, wind, where they labour under the captain's iron rule. You've glimpsed them during rare trips topside, weathered men, faces blackened with soot, hauling ropes or shoveling coal into the furnaces. Their work is relentless, stoking fires, scrubbing decks, standing watch in icy gales. Yet they hold power over you, their clubs ready for defiance. A sailor passing through ignores Bridget's plea for water, his sneer cutting, his life as hard as yours, but worlds apart. The crew's days are grueling. Stokers, deep in the ship's belly, shovel coal in scorching heat, their sweat mixing with ash, their lungs choked with dust. Deck sailors climb icy rigging, their hands raw, risking falls in storms like the one that shook the hold. The captain, a distant figure in a braided coat, drives them hard, his orders absolute, his attention fixed on first-class passengers dining in the saloon. The crew eats better than you, fresh bread, not mouldy biscuits, but their rations are small, their sleep broken by watches. Their isolation, far from home, mirrors yours, yet their authority breeds resentment, their harshness a wall between you. The sensory weight is heavy. The hold's stench, vomit, waste, mould clings to you, while above, the crew breathes salt air, sharp with coal smoke. Your hands, raw from the bunk, clutch your shawl, while sailors' boots thud overhead, their shouts blending with the waves' crash. The lamps flicker, shadows dancing, the straw chilling your bones. The crew's world, though freer, is no haven. Their faces, glimpsed on deck, are gaunt, their eyes tired. Their power over you, shoving past, ignoring pleas, stings, yet their own suffering under the captain's whip tempers your anger, their lives a different kind of prison. The emotional toll binds you both. You dream of America, but the crew dreams of shore leave, their families as distant as yours. Bridget's prayers, Anna's lullaby, echo below, while the crew, hardened by toil, scorns your faith, their own hopes buried under duty. As night falls, the hold quiets, the lamps dim. You lie on your bunk, the ship's sway a lullaby, the crew's shouts fading, your heart clinging to endurance, pulling you deeper into the miserable life of a transatlantic passenger. The SS Britannia ploughs through the Atlantic's endless grey waves, its iron hull creaking under the sea's relentless push, the year 1860. You're a steerage passenger, 18 days into the grueling crossing from Liverpool to New York, your body worn thin by seasickness, hunger and the suffocating confinement of the steerage hold. The air below deck is a heavy miasma of vomit, rancid pork and damp straw, the dim oil lamps casting flickering shadows on pale, gaunt faces. Your bunk, shared with Bridget and her children, Sean and Mary, is a cramped refuge, its wooden slats digging into your aching back. Amid the despair of disease, hunger, and the crew's harsh indifference, rare moments of hope flicker, a shared song, a kind gesture, a glimpse of dolphins dancing in the waves, offering fleeting relief, a fragile light in the hold's gloom. Above, first-class passengers laugh in their polished saloon, but here, in the ship's belly, these small joys are treasures, binding you to the weary souls around you. This is no tale of adventure, but of endurance, woven softly to lull you toward slumber. You sit on your bunk, the straw damp and prickly, your hands trembling from weakness, your cough a faint echo of the hold's pervasive sickness. Yesterday, during a rare moment on deck, you saw dolphins leap through the waves, their sleek bodies arcing in the sunlight, their grace drawing gasps from the huddled steerage passengers. The sight, brief but vivid, stirred something in you, a spark of wonder, a reminder of a world beyond the hold's misery. Bridget, standing beside you, sang an Irish lullaby, her voice soft and lilting, calming Sean and Mary, whose eyes widened with delight, their thin faces breaking into rare smiles. The memory lingers, a faint warmth against the cold dread of fever and starvation, a moment shared with the 100 souls packed around you, their murmurs of awe, a fleeting bond in the face of the sea's cruelty. These moments of hope are scarce but vital, piercing the hold's relentless despair. Back below, the air is thick, the stench of vomit, waste and mould blending with the tarry smell of the ship's seams. Yet Bridget's song continues, her Gaelic melody a quiet defiance, drawing a small crowd of Irish women, their voices joining in a low, soothing chorus. "It's from Mayo," she whispers, her fingers stroking Mary's hair, her eyes distant with memories of green hills, now an ocean away. You hum along, your own voice hoarse, the tune unfamiliar but comforting, its rhythm blending with the ship's creak. The song, a rare gift, quiets the hold's groans, even as a sailor's shout from above, "Keep it down!" cuts through, his boots stomping, his indifference a stark contrast to the warmth of Bridget's voice. Across the hold, Anna, the Polish seamstress, offers another spark of kindness. Her son, Jan, lies feverish in her lap, his small body trembling, but she braids a young girl's hair, her fingers steady despite her own exhaustion. The girl, an orphan cared for by strangers, smiles faintly, her eyes heavy but grateful. Anna speaks of a Warsaw market where she once bought ribbons for her own daughter, now gone, her voice soft with loss but warm with care. "For you," she murmurs, tying the braid with a scrap of cloth, a small act that draws a nod from a nearby mother. You offer a rag to cool Jan's forehead, your hands shaking from hunger, and Anna's quiet "Dziękuję" binds you in the hold's shared struggle, a moment of hope amid the fear of disease. Hans, the German carpenter, shares a rare kindness, passing a sip of water from his flask to a boy too weak to stand. His cough has worsened, his face flushed, but his smile is genuine as he speaks of his brother in New York, promising the boy stories of American forests. "We'll carve a boat," he says, his voice rough but kind, his hands mimicking the motion of whittling. The boy, clutching a crust of mouldy biscuit, listens, his eyes bright for the first time in days. You nod at Hans, your own dreams of a factory job flickering, his gesture a reminder of the small acts that hold the steerage together. Even Duncan, the Scotsman, joins in, his usual bravado softened as he tells a tale of Glasgow's rivers, his cough pausing to let a child laugh, the sound a rare note in the hold's gloom. These fleeting joys are fragile, easily shattered by the voyage's weight. A glimpse of dolphins, seen from the deck, is cut short by a sailor's order to return below. His club raised, his voice harsh. "Move along!" The hold's sensory burden is relentless. The air thick with the stench of vomit and waste, the straw scratching your skin, the oil lamps flickering, their dim light glinting off damp walls. Your hands, raw from gripping the bunk, clutch a worn Bible, its pages a tether to home. The taste of the morning's ration, gritty biscuit, sour water, lingers, your stomach too weak to crave more. Sounds surround you, the ship's groan, the waves' thud, the coughs and prayers, the children's faint laughter fading under a sailor's shout. The shadows sway with the ship's roll, amplifying the hold's claustrophobia. Yet these moments, a song, a braid, a shared sip, cut through, a brief warmth against the cold. The crew's indifference casts a shadow over these joys. Above, first-class passengers play cards in the saloon, their laughter drifting through the deck, their world untouched by the hold's misery. The sailors, weathered and tired, prioritize the wealthy, their boots stomping as they shove past pleading mothers, their sneers cutting, "Save your songs for shore." The captain, a distant figure, dines with the elite, his orders filtering through sailors who see you as cargo. Yet the steerage passengers cling to hope. Ellen, the young Irish girl, shares a story of her Boston fiancé, her voice lifting a group of children. A Yiddish-speaking tailor hums a tune, calming a restless infant. These acts, small but defiant, weave a fragile community, their warmth a shield against the crew's coldness. The emotional toll is a heavy cloak. You left Liverpool with dreams of America, a job, a home, but the hold's hardships, Bridget's hunger, Anna's feverish son, Hans's cough, test your resolve, mirroring your own fears. The crew's cruelty, their dismissal of your small joys, deepens the wound, each ignored gesture a reminder of your powerlessness. Yet these moments of hope, dolphins leaping, a shared song, a kind word, offer solace, binding you to Bridget, Anna, Hans, and the others. Tensions linger. A man snaps at Duncan for laughing too loudly, his hunger sharpening his temper, but a shared hymn soothes the rift, voices rising against the dark. As night falls, the hold grows quieter, the songs fading to murmurs, the lamps dimming to a faint glow. You lie on your bunk, the straw sodden, Bridget's children curled close, their breaths uneven. The ship's sway is a gentle lullaby, the memory of dolphins, songs and kindness a soft echo in your mind. Days remain, disease, hunger, the wait for land. For now you close your eyes, the bunk's motion rocking you, your heart clinging to these rare joys, pulling you deeper into the miserable life of a transatlantic passenger. The SS Britannia glides through the Atlantic's gentler waves, its engines a low, steady hum, the year 1860. You're a steerage passenger, 19 days into the grueling crossing from Liverpool to New York, your body worn thin by seasickness, hunger, and the suffocating hold. The air below deck reeks of vomit, rancid pork, and damp straw, the dim oil lamps casting flickering shadows on gaunt, weary faces. Your bunk, shared with Bridget and her children, Sean and Mary, is a cramped refuge, its wooden slats biting into your aching back. Tonight, the final night aboard, hums with quiet anticipation. Passengers pack meagre belongings, whisper hopes, and brace for the immigration inspections awaiting in New York. As you prepare, the weight of the journey, disease, hunger, storms, and the crew's indifference settles into reflection, your thoughts turning to the steamship's role in carrying thousands like you, your resilience unrecorded but enduring. This is no tale of adventure, but of survival, woven softly to lull you toward slumber. You sit on your bunk, the straw sodden and scratchy, your hands trembling as you sort your bundle. A tattered shawl, a worn Bible, a letter from your cousin in New York promising a factory job. The ship's sway, softer now, rocks the hold where 100 souls stir, their faces pale but lit with cautious hope. A sailor's shout pierces the hatch. "Land tomorrow!" The words spark murmurs, Irish prayers, German whispers, Polish sighs, as passengers grapple with the promise of shore. Bridget, your bunkmate, folds her children's ragged clothes, her fingers steady despite her sunken cheeks, her voice soft as she tells Sean and Mary of a boarding house waiting, a cousin's promise her guide. You clutch your letter, its ink faded, your heart torn between hope and fear of inspections, the journey's scars, hunger, fever, the child buried at sea, etched deep in your bones. The hold buzzes with quiet preparation, a fragile ritual of readiness. Anna, the Polish seamstress, mends a tear in her son Jan's shirt, his fever eased but his small body frail. She whispers of a New York tenement, her sewing skills her anchor, her eyes wet but resolute. Hans, the German carpenter, polishes a wooden figure carved for his brother, his cough softer now, his voice murmuring of factory work. Ellen, the young Irish girl, ties her hair with a scrap of cloth, her thoughts on her Boston fiancé, her hope a flickering flame. You pack your Bible, its pages soft from nightly prayers, and share a crust with Sean, his small smile a fleeting warmth. These acts, folding, mending, packing, are a defiance of the hold's misery, a collective will to face the unknown, even as the crew's coldness looms. The crew's presence is a heavy shadow. Sailors patrol the hold, their boots stomping, their voices sharp as they order you to clear the floor for inspection. The captain, a distant figure in a braided coat, dines in the saloon, his attention fixed on first-class passengers, their trunks packed with silk and finery. You've glimpsed them on deck, their faces clean, their laughter light, while your shirt, crusted with grime, clings to your damp skin. A sailor, passing through, ignores Anna's plea for water for Jan, his sneer cutting, "Save it for shore." The ship's doctor, a shadow in a black coat, checks only the wealthy, leaving Jan's lingering cough untreated, your own cough a quiet threat. The hierarchy is unyielding. Your ticket buys passage, not respect, your preparations overshadowed by the fear of being turned back, your health or papers deemed unfit. The sensory weight is relentless. The hold's air is thick, the stench of vomit, waste and mould blending with the tarry smell of the ship's seams. Your hands, raw from gripping the bunk, tremble as you fold your shawl, its fabric frayed and thin. The taste of the day's ration, mouldy biscuit, cloudy water, lingers, your stomach too weak to crave more. Sounds surround you. The ship's creak, the waves' soft lap, the rustle of packing, the coughs and prayers of passengers. The oil lamps flicker, their dim light glinting off damp walls, the shadows swaying with the ship's roll, amplifying the hold's claustrophobia. The straw bedding scratches your skin, its dampness chilling your bones, your cough a faint echo of the hold's pervasive sickness. The emotional toll is a heavy cloak. You left Liverpool with dreams of America, a job, a home, but the journey's cost tests your resolve. Bridget's famine, Anna's war-torn village, Hans's lost trade, and Ellen's hope for love mirror your own losses, their stories woven into yours over weeks of shared suffering. The crew's cruelty, ignoring pleas, shoving past mothers, deepens the wound, each dismissal a reminder of your powerlessness. Yet the hold's quiet bustle, packing, whispering, praying, offers solace, a shared anticipation of land even as the fear of inspections looms. Tales of Castle Garden, New York's immigration depot circulate, officials probing health papers and means, the threat of quarantine or rejection a shadow over your hopes. The community in steerage, fragile but vital, binds you tonight. Bridget shares a prayer, her rosary beads clicking, joined by a Polish woman's soft litany. Hans offers a kind word to a nervous boy, his voice steady despite his cough. Ellen hums a tune, calming a restless child, her hope infectious. Tensions linger. A man snaps at another for bumping his bundle, his hunger sharpening his temper, but a shared nod soothes the rift. Language barriers persist. You catch fragments of Yiddish or German, the words roar with anticipation. These acts, packing, praying, comforting, are a lifeline, a collective will to reach shore, defying the crew's indifference and the sea's weight. As you prepare, your thoughts turn to the journey's broader meaning. The SS Britannia, an iron marvel, is one of countless steamships carrying thousands across the Atlantic. Irish fleeing famine, Germans seeking work, Poles escaping war. Your story, unrecorded, is theirs. A forgotten endurance, your hunger, sickness, and hope swallowed by history's pages. The steamship shrank the ocean, its engines a pulse of progress, but at a cost. Lives lost to fever, families broken by the hold's misery, dreams tested by weeks of despair. You think of Bridget, her children's survival her only drive, of Anna sewing in a tenement, of Hans carving in a factory. Their resilience, like yours, built a nation. Their labour laying tracks, stitching clothes, raising cities, their names unknown but their legacy enduring. This crossing, a grueling trial, mirrors countless others, each passenger a thread in a vast tapestry. The modern world, with its swift planes and abundant food, owes a debt to your struggle. Its comforts a stark contrast to the hold's damp straw and mouldy biscuits. Your endurance, shared with Bridget, Anna, Hans, and Ellen, is a quiet triumph. A will to survive that echoes in today's journeys. Migrants crossing borders, seeking hope against hardship. The SS Britannia fades into history, its iron hull long rusted, but your story, though uncelebrated, lives in the cities and dreams you helped forge, a legacy of survival carried on the Atlantic's waves. As night deepens, the hold grows quieter, the murmurs fading to soft breaths, the lamps dimming to a faint glow. You lie on your bunk, the straw sodden, Bridget's children curled close, their breaths uneven. The ship's sway is a gentle lullaby, the rustle of packing, the whispers of hope, and the weight of your journey a soft echo in your mind. Tomorrow brings New York, docks, inspections, the promise of land, but for now the journey's toll settles into your bones. You close your eyes, the bunk's motion rocking you, your heart clinging to the fragile hope of arrival and the enduring legacy of your crossing, pulling you deeper into the miserable life of a transatlantic passenger now fading into sleep.